Hello all, this is Dr. Dave Maslach talking to you about reciprocity.com. The E is written with a 3, and in this particular video I want to talk to you about feeling inadequate in graduate school or at work. So if you don't know who I am, I'm an associate professor of innovation strategy and entrepreneurship, and I created this whole reciprocity project to give back as much as I possibly can. There were so many people that helped me out that I wanted to pay the favor forward and help you out as much as I possibly can. All right, so I want to point out that we all feel inadequate in our jobs, and I want to sort of state that as basically a fact in the world around us. No matter what particular career you're doing, what particular school you're going to, I think most of us at many parts of our life have this feeling creep in, and I think it's very much part and parcel of being a human being and being in this world. The key thing I think that drives some of this inadequacy is that we have set our aspirations to other people, and we think about how other people behave and how much we rely on this reference set or this reference group of what that magical group of other people look like makes us feel as if we haven't accomplished much. So how we define that particular reference group or reference set that we're looking at, maybe it's a single individual, maybe it is a group of individuals, we often don't look at underlying conditions that is driving those particular individuals. So for example, maybe they have more resources than you do. For example, maybe they have financial resources. Often they might have, maybe it's intellectual resources, or maybe they started off at a different part in their life. They have some resources that are just not visible to you, and you're just not aware of those particular things. Another thing that I think we often forget about is that we set our aspirations at people that are much further along in their journey in life, whatever that is, right? So maybe you are 12 years old right now, maybe you are 20 years old watching this, and you're looking at Olympic athletes that are, maybe they're 25, and you are seeing them and you can't believe on how to actually get there, and then you get frustrated and you feel inadequate with how you're actually dealing with the things that you're dealing with. The trouble is that everybody else has gone through the same journey at the same stage that you are on at this moment. And so maybe you have to switch careers or change something. But this process in which we look at other people and try to make sense of the world, and that's how we sort of make decisions. Often we look at other people and we get inspiration from things around us. And so it makes sense that we feel inadequate and that we try to compare against other people that are perhaps completely different than you. We all come from different situations, so we don't know and what their actual situation actually looks like, right? So this feeling of inadequacy, in my experience, it is very real for anybody that's in graduate school, doing research, for example. Entrepreneurs are going to feel this way because they're grinding at something. It takes a lot of work. Innovators are going to feel this way. And really what it is when you're at a moment in your life where you're pushing the envelope at something in which we think the world can be done, right? So we think that the world is this way, or most people think that the world is kind of at this particular social norm, and you are constantly pushing against that. Maybe it is a new drug that you're trying to discover, and it takes 30 years to discover that particular drug, where you're bumping up against your own abilities and what other people are doing on a regular basis. And it's difficult to do that, to repeatedly bump up against that and look around you and see that, well, other people are becoming a lot more successful than you are. And we sort of generalize from those other people in what is actually going on. So I want you to really think about things going forward in terms of thinking about this. And this is for me to think about as well, right? So this is my own thought process is, with all of this in terms of where we all situate ourselves. This is not really just recommendations for the general you. This is me. This is somebody else that is sort of thinking in this kind of way, and I want you to sort of try to work around this and sort of get your mind around this. So the first thing is really try to focus on your immediate surroundings. So I feel like this all the time. This is kind of a normal thing for me in my day-to-day. And one way I try to sort of not feel inadequate is to use my five senses around me. So every time I start feeling like that, I have to start, looking at, taste, touch, smell, sight. So I use those five senses, right? And I try to sort of target those five senses and try to think about what is one thing that I taste, what is one thing that I feel, or one thing that I can touch, one thing that I can see, and just kind of cycle through those things. So another sort of technique, and a lot of this I think has to do with kind of like wandering minds that we have, right? So we all kind of wander in different directions with our minds, and sometimes it takes us off into negative directions. It's kind of a real thing. So you're trying to get yourself into kind of a state of, what is called flow, where you are not thinking about what things are going to happen, but you're just kind of in the state of doing and trying to get into that state of doing. So another way to sort of remove that sort of aspect of your life is to do things like focusing on a mantra or a prayer. It does help, and you feel very good with that, right? So when I'm exercising, when I'm swimming laps, for example, I will, I'm born and raised Catholic. So I'll do the rosary in my head. I know that some of you might not, find that appealing, but that idea of doing a mantra in your head over and over and over again really is therapeutic. And if you can come up with something like that where you're doing a mantra just to push those thoughts out of your mind, it does really help with these feelings of inadequacy, and you come back feeling much more refreshed. Another thing that I've been trying to do, particularly with this whole reciprocity project, as you could see, is I'm really trying to focus on gratitude with what I have in my life, and really emphasizing the fact that you are absolutely remarkable to be part of this journey, to be part of my life. And I also want you to acknowledge and really think about that you are a remarkable human being and what the things that you're doing on a daily basis. Really think about who you are and the amazing things that you have done over your lifetime. And even just the fact of being born is a remarkable thing in many different ways, that is just a privilege to be here on this side of the dirt. And really acknowledge that is an amazing thing that we're all experiencing, and every single day, every single breath that you have, it is a phenomenal gift from whatever it is, the heavens, just randomness, whatever you might sort of think about. It is a remarkable gift that we're here and that all of this stuff is happening around us, even though it is sometimes challenging with the world around us in what things are happening. But at the same time, it is a remarkable experience to be part of this weird world that we live in. The other thing is to work on finding a good group of friends that will encourage you to come out of your shell and to, really try to work on this not feeling in your head, and really try to extend yourself. The more that you can get into this kind of state of flow where you're not thinking about your immediate reality, the more that you're going to feel better. So, a thing that you could do, and that's the whole reciprocity project, is me trying to do this publicly online, is practice cheering people up, practice encouraging people, really work on that. It's hard to do some of these things for us folks that are thinking about this all the time. It really truly is hard to do it, because we have envy and all those kind of crazy emotions and stuff like that. So try to encourage people no matter who they are and cheer them on. I think it's a really fun experience to go through this. And we all have to sort of practice this. And so it's kind of an opposite sort of reaction. So every time that you feel kind of like, this is not good, try to practice cheering other people on that are at a different position than you. Maybe they are, lower status or, equal status or whatever you might call it, right? So that a sociologist might sort of understand what I'm talking about, but really just sort of thinking about encouraging other people that are around in your social circle and really cheering them on and in much as you possibly can. That is really a good way to process some of this stuff. And it does make you feel better after you've done that. Another thing is to continuously remind yourself about your end goals and your legacy in life, whatever that might look like. I think that's an important thing to remind yourself, to not get caught up in the immediate surrounding or the immediate goals that you're trying to do. All of those things are going to be very trivial when you're 85, when you're 90 years old, and you're looking back at the things that you've done. I want you to sort of acknowledge that that is a very powerful tool to escape what you're actually going through at this moment, to simply just say, all of this stuff is not going to matter when I'm 80 years old. What's going to matter is the people I actually spoke to, the people that acknowledge that you changed their life. All of those things are going to be the things that are going to be more important than the day-to-day grind that you're experiencing, or that envy that you're experiencing, that feeling of being inadequate that you're experiencing. Really take a step back and really think about where you want to go with the things that you're doing in your life, building that legacy, really working towards those particular end goals. And that's going to help out a lot of times. You know that all of the biggest things in life actually take the most amount of work. So the things that matter to this world really are not the sort of minor things. The things that really truly matter are the things that just took a tremendous amount of work over and over and over and over again. And those are the things that really do reflect upon this world. And then people say, well, that's amazing, and that would have took a long time to do, and it's not until you've done it for 10, 15, 20 years that people start acknowledging that that was truly an amazing sort of accomplishment with what you're actually doing. Now, the other thing, and I think this is a really powerful tool that I've really realized with the whole reciprocity project, is I want you to be open as much as you can about your journey, whatever that looks like. Document. So I'm a big fan of Gary Vaynerchuk, and he has this kind of idea of documenting and not creating, and just getting out there and just talking about who you are as a person, talking about your experiences. So what you're doing at that scenario, particularly if you're an academic, you're in graduate school, is you're creating this content stream that you can go and maybe look at in the future, or create a book based on that, all those particular experiences. Now, if you're an innovator, an entrepreneur, Gary Vee really tackles a lot of that stuff. But really what you're trying to do is build a stream where people are going to recognize you for who you are as an individual. And that takes a lot of work, but really working on your journey and talking about your journey, that is a very powerful tool, because you're not really giving it that much effort. You're just kind of talking about who you are. That's an important thing, right? Just really talking about your story and how you feel. So for me, feeling inadequate is a very real part of my life. And it's always been a part of my life for a very, very long time. And so talking openly about this, it really does feel good in terms of helping other people out. But at the same time, perhaps in 10 years, there'll be a book that will be written with all of this kind of stuff, right? I can find somebody to help me build this book. By the way, if you are a writer, or if you know of people that would like to sort of help out with that, it would be kind of cool. But enough about that. I want you to really work on feeling on inadequate, and really working on towards, acknowledging that you're an amazing human being, and you're going to get to where you're going. It's just a matter of sort of taking that moment where you have to take patience and really working on that sort of patience and kindness around you, and really working on things like, empathy, for example, where you are acknowledging that this takes a lot of time. Not empathetic for, the imaginary person over in, that you're comparing yourself, but being empathetic towards yourself and really thinking about that, from afar, looking at saying, that person is doing something that's incredible, that's difficult to do, it's remarkable, and it's going to take a long time to get there. Be very empathetic with who you are as an individual, and really work on, taking a step, looking at yourself from someplace else, and look to see that, it is a struggle to do a lot of those things. It is helping, and it is a remarkable thing that you're doing. So I want you to take some of those things to heart and really work on them. If they do work, please do leave comments below. I'd love to hear about it. It'd be kind of cool. It does help with me, and hopefully it's going to help with you. So with that, give me a thumbs up, do subscribe to the YouTube channel. Take care and have a wonderful day. Bye.